Hey guys, Thrasher here. We just got a huge update and there's a lot to go through, so let's talk about it right now. Okay, so like I said, it's a huge update. We're going to go through the news like we normally do. One of the things that it's going to say in the news is the maintenance went a lot longer than it was supposed to, so they gave us all a free 400 chrono crystals. Make sure you grab that. In the top right corner here, you'll see the little present. Click that, hit accept. Get your 400 chrono crystals, and then I'm going to hit OK on this, and we're going to go into the news area, and we're going to work our way up. We are going to skip the banner once we get to that, but that is not at the bottom like it was last time. Now, here's the thing. There's so much stuff to get through that I'm going to skip stuff that there's not anything really important that we need to talk about. So these two old Broly events, they've returned. We don't really need to go in and talk about them. Nothing crazy is new about them. So let's talk about the new Broly event. Let's go ahead and hit details on that. You can find this the way you normally do. You just go in through the events area, and then there's two equipment items. So let's talk about both of these. This first one can be used by anyone that is a Fusion Warrior or a Super Saiyan. You don't have to be both. So it's got 15% to strike defense, it's got 20% to blast attack, and then it's got 7% to ki restore. This is actually a pretty good item. The only real issue that I see with it is the fact that I think ki restore speed needs to be a little bit higher on these items to really make a huge impact. There are a few cases where 7% ki restore will get you that extra 1 to 2 ki that you need in a very specific combo, but it's not very often. So if they could bump that up to say 15%, I think it would make a legitimate difference in a lot of fights where that last slot would really be worth it. So let's go ahead and scroll past that. But that is an item that you're going to want at least one, maybe two of those. And we'll talk more about item slots and things of that nature too, because they have added the ability to get more item slots. So the last one is Hurrah. You have to use the new Gogeta to use this because it has to be a Fusion Warrior and blue, and he's the only blue Fusion Warrior at the moment. So 18% to strike defense, that's pretty good. 15% to special move damage, pretty good. And then he can get 18% to blast attack or 18% to blast defense. I would probably prefer the blast attack in this case, but 18% is pretty decent either way. And with the new equipment awakening system that is out now, you're going to want to make sure that you have at least one of these, but probably a couple. So I think that's pretty much it for this one. It's just talking about the fact that you can get more of the Super Souls and Rising Souls for the Broly. And obviously you want to go through this event because it's going to give you chrono crystals and there's a couple missions for it. So that's cool. That's out of the way. Let's talk about the next thing, which is the update announcement. We'll go ahead and open that. So there's a lot of things that went into this update outside of just the content itself. So one, they've updated the Rare Metals Exchange Shop, they've updated the Z Metals Exchange Shop, and they've changed the daily mission rewards and then added the new function Equipment Awakening. So first thing we're going to do is let's go look at the Rare Metals and Z Metals shop, because as I said, they have added more equipment slots if you do certain things. So some people don't like this, and I kind of agree with them. There are a couple ways to get equipment slots. One, you can go into the Rare Metal shop and you can buy equipment slots for 3,000 rare metals for one equipment slot, which seems insanely high if you ask me. I think 3,000 rare metals for 10 slots would probably be acceptable, but essentially if you were to PvP all season long and you get top 10,000, you get your 3,000 rare metals. That top 10,000 gets you one equipment slot after one season, so after 2 weeks of grinding. That seems pretty crazy to me. So we'll talk about the rush metals in a minute when we get to the Ultra Space Time Rush, but first let's look at the rare metals, and you can see right here that if you spend 3,000 rare metals, you get an equipment slot, and that's pretty much the only truly important change in here. There are also a few extra messages you can send to people. These are PvP messages down here. If you want to buy those, you can, but they're not super important. And then let's talk about the Z Metal shop. So for anyone that doesn't have Z Metals yet, you know, I'm sorry. Some people will say, oh, you have to be a whale to have Z Metals. As you can see, I've spent all mine. I don't really have any left. You don't have to be a whale. All you have to do is when the scout battles show up, you have to make sure that you're farming those scout battles to get that character to 7 stars, and then you keep farming that, so that way every time you get more Z power for that character, it gives you Z Metals instead. So the Z Metals are also going to give you one equipment slot for 3,000 Z Metals, which seems extremely insane that you need 3,000 Z power to get one equipment slot. And then, as we've talked about before, you can get your Goku Everyday Summon tickets if you want to grab some more of those. As you can see, I've grabbed what, like 33 of those so far or something like that. And then we'll back out of here, and then let's go back into the news, and we will talk about those rush metals when we get to that point, because there's still a lot to go through here and we don't want to get lost and miss a bunch of important stuff. So changes in the shop item, and this is just a notice to let you know they've changed the sales. This is the part that really annoys people, because if you go down here, you'll see this guy right here for, I believe, $7, you can get 320 chrono crystals, which is not a good deal, but then you get 5 equipment slots. So for $7, it's almost, what is that, like $1.30 per equipment slot. Not a great deal if you ask me. And the way it's set up right now, you need, I don't know what the max amount of equipment slots that you can buy is, but I would say if you have anything short of like 400 to 450, you're going to be in a lot of trouble trying to hold all of your equipment for all of your different teams and for all the different combinations that you need in the game right now. So if you ask me, it's pretty crazy that they're making equipment slots so expensive. But with that being said, let's go ahead and back out and talk about the next area, which as we scroll down here is the login bonus for Gogeta. So we'll go ahead and open this, and it says as we log in, day 1, you're going to get this stuff. It's essentially going to be the same thing we pretty much always get. It's going to be some chrono crystals, it's going to be some energy tickets. We are getting a couple Z1 adventures, which in my opinion aren't that valuable at this point because they're very easy to get through the bonus battles if you want to get those. And then the major thing outside of all the normal stuff is you do get Broly's battle suit at the end of the 7 days. So that's probably the most important thing out of this whole thing if you ask me, but I'm a transmogrification guy, so if you don't care about the way your characters look, then you're not going to care. But yeah, so I think you get 100 chrono crystals and some other stuff that you will use. It's just there's nothing crazy here as far as any type of login bonuses. So let's go ahead and back out, and then we are going to go down to this guy right here. So the Legends Road for Gotenks, make sure you go through this and get your Gotenks before you start doing the Space-Time Rush. Now, you can do the Ultra Space-Time Rush whenever you want because it doesn't cost any energy, but at a certain point, it's going to tell you that in order to get all of the points possible in it, you need to be using 3 green characters, and one of them has to be a Fusion Warrior. I guess it doesn't have to be a Fusion Warrior, but it's going to make your life much, much easier. So you're going to want this character unlocked before you do the first floor of the Ultra Space-Time Rush. So the other thing to keep in mind here is you want to make sure that you have 3 green sparking units, and you are prepared to deal with all the challenges, things like bringing extreme characters instead of sparkings. There's nothing else crazy here though, so we can go ahead and back out. One of the nice things when you go to the shop, so let's show that off real quick. When you go to the shop for these Legends Road medals, is we go down to Exchange Shop and we click on this. They were actually nice enough to put all of the Gotenks up top for us, so you don't have to look for them. As you'll see, the gold is up top, then the silver right below that, and the bronze right below that, and I need to buy some more here in a minute and use the rest of my energy and do that. But then, let's go ahead and go back to news and talk about the next thing, which I think we're almost getting to the big one, if you ask me, which is the Ultra Space-Time Rush. Not quite there yet. Let's talk about Equipment Awakening. So this one is actually huge. The 2 big things in this update are the Equipment Awakening and the Ultra Space-Time Rush. So I'm not going to run you through the entire process, but I want to show you how crazy these awakenings get once you do it. So let's go ahead and back out of here, and you go to Characters, and you're going to have 2 new buttons down at the bottom. You're going to have Equipment Awakening and Equipment Archive. So Equipment Archive is like it used to be, the ability to look at all of the different equipment in the game, and that shows you pre-awakened and post-awakened equipment. So as we can see, right, let me find it here. Here is the pre-awakened Beerus equipment stats. Pretty good. They go up to 30%. Great. Here's the post-awakened Beerus equipment. Goes up to 40%, 35%. Those both stay at 30, and then I believe the ultimate damage down below gets something like a 5 or 10% boost. So overall, it's a pretty reasonable boost across the board. You get 10% more to strike attack, you get 5% more to blast attack, and that obviously there's a range to it, but they even add it to the bottom of the range. So it's definitely worth it to awaken these items. Let me go and show you how that actually works. What you're going to do is go into Equipment Awakening, and these right here are called memories. You buy these with the Rush medals. I believe there might be one other way to get them, but the way that I can think of right now is the Rush medals. So you use Rush medals to buy this memory. Once you have the memory, you select it and you hit select, and then you need 3 of these things and 5 of these things for this specific one. So if we look at different memories, we're going to see that there's different requirements. So you'll notice a couple things here is there are specific equipment here, and there's a specific rating. So you need 1 of each of these, and they have to all be A rated. So if we back out and we look at the Beerus one again, in order to get that awakened Beerus equipment item, you need 3 S+ Beerus equipment items, and then you need 5 A+ gold equipment items. Once you have both of those, you then need to make sure that up here you have these specific items. You need 50 of the thing on the left and you need 8 of the thing on the right. I believe 8 are the rare fragments and 50 are the standard fragments. You also get those with rush medals. Now, we'll talk about rush medals when we get to the Ultra Space-Time Rush, but once you've actually created that, you end up with this guy down here, which is the good one. So, what it's going to do is tell you to confirm it. You hit the confirm button, and then it's going to have like one more little confirm screen. You hit confirm on that, and you're good to go. Now, you can also do an auto select. I don't recommend that. Auto select will grab just a bunch of equipment for you if you have a ton of equipment, but it's very possible that it could grab one equipment item that you really wanted to hold on to, and for whatever reason you forgot to lock it or whatever, something of that nature. So I don't recommend using the auto select. I recommend actually clicking this button right here and going in and selecting the equipment items that you actually want to use as your resources to make these awakened items. So that's pretty much how awakening works. Let's go ahead and back out of here, and then let's talk about the Ultra Space-Time Rush. So we're going to go to event, and we are going to go this actually might be a little bit of an issue here because I'm actually in the middle of a floor right now, but if we click on this, we can see that you hit the challenge now button, it shows the floor that I'm on, and as you'll notice, or maybe you won't notice because there's not that many left, but I'm missing a lot of my sparking characters at the top here. That's because I think I'm already on like the 6th or 7th fight, something of that nature. So I've already used like 18 of my sparking characters on the left as my battle members, and I've used a bunch of support members. Now, here's the thing. As you go through this, you can only use a character once, whether you use them as a battle member or a support. Once you use them, they count as deployed. Once they're deployed, you can't use them again on a single floor. So one of the things I recommend is as you're doing the first couple battles on any floor, the battles obviously get harder as you go on. So what you want to do is only use 3 battle members and don't use any support members for their Z abilities until you really need it. That's going to make it so you can get further through the entire event. Also, one of the things that I highly recommend is do not use any character that is viable as a battle member. Don't use them as a support member because you're probably going to need them. There are quite a few stages to this. So unless you have an absolutely stacked box, you're probably going to want to save all of your level 2000 sparking units as battle members and then use all of your hero and extreme units. Unless it's an insanely good extreme unit, use those as your support members to try and buff them up in cases where they do need some buffs. Now, one more thing to note here, or I guess a couple things, is you can click this button right down here. It takes you to details, and you can see a few different things. One, you can see the reward that you're going to get. It's pretty much always 10 rush medals the first time you complete it, but then you're going to see the challenges, and this is how you want to set your team up, because you want to be getting every single challenge you can, because the point is to get the maximum amount of points possible while going through one single run. So as you'll see, in this one, I need to be bringing 3 green characters, and then the rest is pretty easy. I just need to clear it within 110 counts, and I need to land a rising KO. Pretty simple, pretty easy. The hard part is bringing the 3 units that are green and actually dealing with these opponents right here. Now, luckily, there's no purples here, so I don't need to worry too much about that. The other thing to note is if you screw up and you get, say, 70% of the way through your run and you're trying to perfect it, right? You get 70% of the way through and you miss 1 or 2 of the bonuses, the rewards, then all you have to do is hit this reattempt button at the bottom. It will reset everything. You'll start with the very first battle of the very first floor or whatever floor you're on, and you can retry. But it will reset absolutely everything, so watch out for that. Don't just reattempt thinking that it allows you to reattempt this one single fight. That's not how it works. Now, the one thing that it does not reset is any rewards that you've got previously. You get to keep those, and then whatever your previous highest score was, it does not reset that. So in order to get more rewards, you have to surpass your previous highest score, and as you surpass that and get to higher and higher scores, you'll get more and more rewards until you get a perfect score, at which point there's no more rewards to get. But the cool thing is it doesn't cost energy, so you can try this as many times as you want. You can do it all day long, and I've actually been having quite a bit of fun with it. I've been pretty burnt out on the PvE side of things, and PvP obviously has been a little bit of a mess for a while, but the PvE was starting to burn me out. I'm having a lot of fun with this so far. I think that's about it with this. Let's go ahead and back out completely, and we're going to go to news, and we're just going to run through that real fast, and I'm just going to make sure I didn't forget anything. So it talks about how to play, which is something we've already talked about. The rewards, that's one thing I need to mention. So I'm already, I believe, a C rank on that one. I've got a couple battles left, so we'll see how much higher I can get. I missed a few points here and there because I wasn't really paying attention to the challenges at the beginning. So make sure you check those before you start on every single one. And then as you'll see here, you get a lot of stuff. You get some rare fragments, you get some Masters Pack tickets, you get the rush medals, which are the most important thing if you ask me. And then you also at the top here get the Ultra Spacetime Rush Commander item. Now, I believe that's something you can equip on your Shallot, but I'm not 100% about that. So I'll figure that out once I get there. But let's go ahead and back out of here. And then we need to talk about the last two things here. So we have 2 new summons. Let's go ahead and go over to those and give them their general rating. So as is normally the case with any of these Legends banners that show up whenever you have a new Legends Road, this banner is probably not worth it. Now, the Piccolo is decent, but he's completely free. You're going to get a Piccolo just for playing the game as you increase your Z level. The Boo is decent, probably not worth pulling on though. The Kaba is okay, but he's only very good in specific situations where you're going to be using a lot of Vegetas. The instant transmission Goku is garbage right now, and then the Vegeta is good, but there's no discounts on this. It's probably not worth pulling on these units unless you're a brand new player where you're going to try to get 1 or 2 green units just for the Legends Road. If you're brand new, I still think there are better options than to use this actual banner. So I'm going to rate this a 1-star banner, although it's borderline 2-star. The problem with that is there's no discounts. So you have to pull full price to try and get these units, and none of them I would say are absolutely worth it. So let's go ahead and move up to this guy up here. So the Gogeta banner. Here's the thing with Gogeta. He's a very good beat stick, and he's going to make the Holy Trinity viable again. So with Super Saiyan Bardock, who's a blue, this Gogeta, who's a blue, and then the Broly, who's a purple, you finally have your color counter team. You've got your blue, who can be countered by a green, but then you've got your purple to cover up for any greens that show up. So this beat stick is going to make Holy Trinity viable again, but he doesn't have an amazing utility kit. All he can really do is just do a ton of damage, which can be a bit of a problem because the Bardock doesn't have an amazing utility kit either. Your only real utility on that team is your Broly, and he does have a lot of utility, but if it's a unit who you're going to chase just one single unit, they need to be absolutely insane. So if we go and look at Z-Power list, I want to point something else out here. The only character that's featured that has a 1% rate like they should is the Gogeta himself. You will get 999 pieces if you pull on this, but everything else is much lower than 1%. And the other two, what you would call featured characters, are only 1/4%, which is insane. And then you have this Broly, who's also 1/4%. I guess he's featured, but he's a garbage character, so he's not worth pulling on. So if you ask me, there's really only 1.5 to 1 3/4 of a character on this banner that you really want to pull, and the one that you're chasing is the Gogeta. So if you're going to pull on this, I would say it's probably okay to spend 3,000 on it if you have a lot of reserved crystals. If you only have 3,000, do not spend all of your crystals on this, because keep in mind, this is not Gogeta Blue. This is Gogeta turning into Super Saiyan. At some point, we're going to get a Gogeta Blue, and I feel like he's going to be a lot more overwhelming than this character is. Don't get me wrong, he's not a bad character, he's just not game-breaking. So I'm going to rate this as a 3-star banner. If you want to spend up to 3,000, make sure you do it on this banner where you get 999 of the Z-Power for Gogeta, and if you're going to just do your dailies, which is not a bad idea at all, you would just go down here and do dailies every single day. So I am going to rate this a 3-star Dragon Ball banner, but it's borderline 2 to 3-star. I don't think anyone should be spending more than 3,000, and if you're someone who's sitting at around 3,000 crystals, at the most I would only spend like 1,000 on this just to take a chance at getting that 999 Z-Power Gogeta once. And then obviously always do your single summons. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you guys think I missed anything, make sure to throw it down below. If there's anything that you want me to cover more in depth, because this was a huge update, make sure to throw that down there too, and I'll try to cover it as quickly as I can and as in depth as possible. And if you guys like this content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.